How to Sell Insurance podcast. I'm Ryan Federico, as always, joined here with my best friends on the planet, Mr. Keith Fonseca and Ashton DeLango Lunday. We have some special guests with us here. Friend of the program, Elijah Curujo, kicking it out of Virginia Beach, and ready to shed some more light, pearls of wisdom. We got a lot of responses on our last guest review of what did we talk about last time you were on?
Dude, we were just shooting the breeze. We were talking about everything.
We were talking about
everything.
But for some reason, we got a ton of comments on that video. I think because people like you. We also got, for the first time on the pod, the pickleball champ. Is that what it's called? Pickleball? Yeah, it's pickleball champ here. Grant Leber out of Phoenix, Arizona. Yeah, exactly. Pickleball, racquetball, anything with a racket and a ball, he's all about it. Right? Do you play pickleball with a racket or is it a paddle?
It's a paddle. It's a solid paddle. It's think about it as in between like a tennis racket and a ping pong paddle.
Got it.
Yeah.
And for those of you guys who are wondering, yes, he is by about 20 years the youngest person on the pickleball court. Not even close, right? Somewhere in there.
I would, yeah. But these old guys, they get it, man. Like, this is the sport that's taking over the elderly communities. It's making them competitive again. I mean, make retirement homes competitive again is what pickleball's slogan is.
That's why he writes so much final expenses.
That's it. That's it.
Exactly. Today, we're sitting here at the Quility National Conference in Denver, Colorado. All of our lives have been impacted by the software that our company has rolled out. It is not the only software in the industry that does what it does. And so, we were kind of going to just have a little chat about what are you excited about. And today we're all pretty much excited about the same thing, which is automation and how to automate, how to get in front of more clients faster, how to meet clients in the way that they're looking for insurance, how to communicate at all times of the day so you don't have to be readily available to get in front of a client and help a client buy insurance. And so we want to talk about all of the ways that automation is impacting our business and encourage you to find ways that automation can impact yours, whether you're at our company, whether you're at a different company, just finding some ways to use automation in your business to become more profitable. But before we do that, we have guests. We've never done this with Elijah, even though this is like the third time he's been on with us. But we're going to do this. We want to hear, number one, how'd you get started in this business? How did you get into insurance? Number two, the most embarrassing thing to ever happen to you in the field with a client, right? So we'll go Elijah first, then we'll go Grant. Grant's got a little bit more time to think about it. Okay. All right, how'd you get into this business?
I got into this business part-time. My claim to fame was I made $50,000 my first year part-time as a college student. That is true. Before this, I was working in a call center, sitting in a gray cubicle. If you've ever seen the movie The Incredibles, the way I describe it is it's like that scene where he's in like that dingy office and it's just cubicles as far as you can see. That's where I worked, and I absolutely hated it. My good buddy Grant worked at the same company. He found Symmetry on ZipRecruiter, and he told me I could make in a week what I made in a month, and I was sold. I quit that job on my 90th day, within 90 days of starting, and I got into licensing. And everything changed when I came to an event like this. And so my first year, I was still a full-time college student, got a degree in marketing, and then came on full-time after I graduated, and it's been freaking awesome.
All right, most embarrassing story.
What happened, so there have been a few, I would say there have been like uneasy, awkward situations far more than embarrassing, but there was one situation where the client made me dinner. And this family was, I believe, from the Philippines. And I always say yes to food. This is back when we were running appointments in person too. So this is way back. And they were making me dinner, and I didn't know what it was. I was talking with the husband. The wife was cooking, and she brings over some food, and I had never seen food like this in my life.
Yes.
And I was like, I was trying to be like as polite as possible. And I mean, there's a verse that says, "Eat whatever's put before you without raising questions of conscience." And so I wasn't gonna not eat. But it happened to be chicken's feet. That was what it was. It was pickled chicken's feet, and I had never. No balut. Now, when I say chicken's feet, I mean like It had the claws on it. It had like little bits of feathers. It was funky.
Wow.
And I chowed down, I choked it down. It was about what you'd expect chicken's feet to taste like.
Yes.
And so I ate, and we were shooting the breeze. Did not end up closing the app.
Oh no.
Did not end up closing the app.
No.
And so I left. I felt pretty sick afterwards. But that's, I would say, probably like one of the more embarrassing stories, because I'm like trying to sell an insurance policy to people who English is like their third language, and I'm trying to explain an IUL to them because they were asking for an investment insurance policy while they're feeding me chicken's feet, and it was.
All right, so what makes the story worse? Was this in Virginia Beach, or did you like have to drive to this appointment?
This was like where I lived,
Oh,
bro.
okay, it's like in your hood.
Yeah. This was like.
At least you weren't like 2 states away.
No, yeah. I had to. There was times I drove out of state to do stuff, and but no, that one had to happen to be local.
I want to know if he was sick because he had to eat chicken's feet or
That.
because he didn't close the app.
It was the chicken's feet, hands down, hands down. That was the first and only time I've ever eaten chicken's feet in my life. So yeah.
All right, Grant, you're up, man. How'd you get in this
Yeah,
business?
so my dad has always been kind of a serial entrepreneur, and he actually has a children's charity that he founded a number of years ago. And one idea he had is, why don't we take some of the donors to the charity and look at their life insurance policies and see if we can rewrite it, maybe save them some money, make the charity a beneficiary, and you as the agent, us as the agent, kind of get that commission. And so I got an insurance license. I ended up writing one policy ever with that, which was declined. So I had nothing. And so I'm just looking around. I was a senior in college, Arizona State. Go Sun Devils. And yes, sir. Forks up. And so I ended up looking on Craigslist, of all places. I found an ad that said, hey, you want to come in part-time, make, like kind of what you talked about, 40, 50,000 a year, full-time, 100K plus, build an agency. And I responded to that ad. I said, hey, I've got an insurance license. What else am I going to do with it? And I was 21 years old. I'm looking through couch cushions to find $5.93 for a burrito, and ended up getting started. And so it was really just kind of the journey from there. Was part-time my first 6 months. Went full-time in the field after I graduated in December 2016, and now just been full-time producing and building the agency. And you talk about stories, like, man, it almost seems like going to meet people in person was like 10 years ago with everything that we've got. Sure. But I'll tell you, the one time that really sticks out is I go up to this guy's house, and his trash cans are not on the side of the house, they're in front of his front door. It's like the black one, the blue one, and you have to like go through this fly-infested like trash cans to even knock on his door. And he comes out in a ripped tank top with his crotch totally out on his shorts.
Nice.
And he goes, oh yeah, hey, come on in. You know what, before you come in, I just gotta use the bathroom. He steps 2 feet out of his door and just whips it out right on his front porch. Yes. Okay, and I'm like, this is surprise Arizona. It was a surprise. Yes, I did. And so then we get into his house, and you can't see the floor. He's like one of those hoarders where like there's literally like 3 feet of just like beer boxes and just other trash and whatever. And we're just like walking. Yeah. I mean, we literally just were like walking unevenly over all this stuff to go in, and he's like, hey man, you want to sit at the kitchen table, which was maybe like a chair and a half, and like a lawn chair. And I was like, you know what, you got kind of a nice back patio. Why don't we go out there? And I see like there's a table, there's a couple of chairs that at least look like semi not infested. And so we go out there, sit down, and this guy is telling me how, he was just arrested for riding his bike naked last week. And
there you go.
He pulls out though like a $6 million annuity portfolio. So like after all this, like this guy's crazy, and this is like maybe at the time probably a $600,000-$700,000 house. So I mean, now probably we're talking 1.5, 2 million. So I mean, he had a big house. The guy had some money. He had some annuities, but he was just such a nut that after a few minutes, it was very clear I no longer should be there for my safety. And so I said, you know what, man? I think I left a couple applications in the car. Let me go grab that, and that was the last I said or heard from him again.
Brent pulled a surprise that day.
That's right. Yeah.
Man.
Hit the gas. I'm out of here.
Anytime you got to car to grab something, but then you just dip. That's
you're
worst.
in for a rough time.
Yeah.
I think that one takes the cake out of all the ones that we've heard so far. I think that one takes the cake. I'm waiting for a better one. That's for sure. I want to like just kind of we'll go down the line here. We'll start with Grant. Like you had gotten out of the field. You'd built a big agency. You're out of the field, And this thing came along, and you're just kind of like, what is this automation thing? I got to learn about this. What was the transition like from you, or you had built your career getting leads, calling them on a certain day, running appointments in person, right? So how was it for you to kind of step over the threshold into this?
Well, I could say the first thing is like from a schedule perspective, because the purpose of automation is to turn outbound into inbound, because outbound takes man hours, it takes time, it's just way more expensive and time consuming. And so, for me, like I got out of the field basically in between COVID and, so like pre-COVID, I'm just out of the field, COVID's hits, and now it's like, we switched to kind of doing things virtually, and now we're switching to kind of this automation side of getting clients. So I can tell you that for me, what I was used to, my last time really being a producer was, hey, Friday, Saturday, I'm on the phones, Monday, Tuesday, I'm in the field, Sunday, I kind of take off, and then Wednesday, Thursday, I'm building my agency. And so when we made this switch, number one, it made me excited about producing again because of all the things that are happening. And it's almost like, we're here at this national conference. I have people that are like begging me to get on the phone with them to write them a policy. And I was like, it's the first time ever. I never imagined that I'd have to tell clients like, I can't do it, I'm busy.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah, it's really special. So in terms of the transition, I think it was really just understanding, number one, there's the tech side, of just kind of understanding how a platform like this works. That was probably the easier part of the transition, even though there were some bugs and kinks. It was really just creating a calendar around being available and understanding what consumers in this marketplace, how they want to buy insurance and how they want to interact with an agent. Because the days of like, I send you a letter and that takes a bunch of time, and then you fill it out and send it back and that takes time, and then the mail house sorts it out, like those types of things are not the ways that people want to do business. We're in a microwave society, and so the automation just helps with keeping up with that.
Yeah, totally. Same question for you, Elijah. Like the transition, especially like, because you were never out of the field. Like you were like grinding, driving across several states, like all over the place, went virtual sales. You were selling across tons of different time zones. You were basically working the entire country. And then like all of a sudden this automation platform comes out and you're like, what's this? And so like, what was that transition like for you, man?
Dude, so back to your first comment on change. I think people are afraid of change because it requires action on their part to do something different. And that takes work, it takes planning, it also takes a commitment to change, because you could test something out, not get the result you want, and then go back to doing things the way that you've always done them. Like just, I think it was about a month ago, we were on a carrier trip, and I met a dude who, to this day, writes paper applications, door knocks to book appointments, and will, he's driving to go meet people. And he will not write an e-app and won't go virtual. And when I asked him why, he just said, I'm old school, I'm not willing to learn something new. And I think that mindset of not being willing to try something different is really what holds people back. When we went virtual, man, it changed my life. Before this, I lived in Virginia, and I would drive to Delaware, North Carolina, Maryland to run business. And I thought business was good back then, dude. But when we switched to COVID, or when COVID happened and we switched to running appointments over Zoom, I mean, it completely changed the game. And I think we could all agree on that for sure. And the number one thing that people complain about in insurance is making calls. And I always tell people, like, man, if that's the worst part of our job, we got it pretty good, because it's not that bad.
We're not breaking rocks.
No, yeah,
or something.
literally. But my favorite part of automation is it's designed to make our jobs easier, give us more time, and also like make the buying experience for the customer smoother and simpler, which in turn generates better reviews. People, like our marketing tagline right now is life insurance doesn't have to be prickly, right? Like it can be simple. I remember when instant issue policies came out. Like that came out in like the last 3 or 4 years, I feel like.
Yeah.
Changed the game, dude. But people still don't write them because they're old school and they want to still do the paper application.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that you say that, man, because there's like there's this philosophy of if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? And it's just it's such bullshit. It's the stupidest thing ever, because it's like, well, if that was the case, like we wouldn't have cars. Right, like we wouldn't have the internet, we wouldn't send emails, you know what I mean? Like we wouldn't have convenience stores, Amazon wouldn't exist. It's like, what are you talking about? If it's not broke, don't fix it. How about improve it until it's easier? And that's, I think, what automation does. And, look, I don't want to discount your door knock guy because some of y'all are listening to this or out there door knocking. And look, there's clients that aren't going to buy an automation. And there's a big enough industry that's out there, and there's enough people that are out there that, like, if you're door knocking and you're helping people and you're getting them covered and you like to do that, cool. But for the rest of you that are like, man, that sounds terrible, you should probably look at getting some automation in your life because it's pretty awesome. Keith, what about you? What was the transition like? I think you got to move that mic closer to you.
What was great for me,
Siri wants to chime in.
Siri has a feeling about it. Here, I got it. So as far as I'm concerned, we all know that I really prefer helping people get debt-free. I do a lot of mortgage protection, and the transition into the debt-free life is super great. So what automation did for me was really allow a broader perspective of communication to go out. That it's not just going out about life insurance, that it's going out about debt-free life and helping you pay off bills and building a tax-free retirement. And it gave an opportunity to create more of a wider network of people who want what we have versus having to pitch to them what we have, right? And in automation, and I guess, this is so true of like Elijah driving around, I drove around. When I drove around, right, not to take this away from automation, but when I drove, it was New Jersey. Right, I drove to southern part of New Jersey, and that was it. So my client pool was the southern part of New Jersey. Now the client pool is people who need it because I can cover the whole United States. Not people I have to pitch it to. People are calling me because they need it. And so it allows more of the time to be spent to talk about how it works, why it'll benefit your life, and so that, rather than pitching it to people who aren't listening.
Yeah, man. And being able to expand that criteria out is so powerful because it's like, I don't think if you ask any career insurance agent, like anybody who's listening to this, ask yourself, if a number called you on your cell phone right now that you didn't know, would you answer it? Most likely you all said no. Some of you said hell no. Some of you said I'm just going to kick it to voicemail, right? But if a number texted you that you didn't know, would you see the text? 95% of you, if not 100% of you, are going to say yes, right? I would look at the text. I see every text. This is how clients prefer to be contacted these days, right? When we were doing surveys, when we went virtual, right, we surveyed like 8,000 clients or something like that when we went virtual. We said, hey, we used to go see people in their home. Things are opening up with COVID. Would you have rather we come to your house, or would you have rather we did everything like we did it today? And we had like a 95% that were like, no, I would have rather done it virtually. People don't want you to come to their house. They don't want you to knock on their door and go in their personal space. They don't want to have to put the dog away and the kids away and clean stuff up and like do all that stuff. They want to be able to take care of it on their time and their way. Some of them prefer to do it virtually. Some of them prefer to buy it on their own. Some of them want the help of somebody over the phone. Some of them want to see people in person. The number of folks that want to see people in person is rapidly shrinking, right? It's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And so I think, like, if you're listening to this, you need to make a choice of, do you want to just be a part of, essentially what's going to be the apocalypse of those buyers, right? Do you just want to sell every one of them that's left until they all die? Or do you want to evolve and get into the side of the industry where there's a plentiful surplus of clients? We have, we're creating these digital leads now that are quadruple opted in. They're not just like these silly Facebook leads that you see some of these other people sell. We're creating these quadruple opted in leads. And, I heard a rough estimate that we could create about 200,000 a week of these leads, right? A week.
Goodness.
200,000 a week nationwide. Like, our company has grown to $200 million by creating like 15,000 a week of direct mail. And like, so the idea that like, okay, I'm an agent and like I need to personally text from my cell phone or personally call from my cell phone that many people throughout the country in all their different time zones, when like there's automated programs that can just do that for you, is like, all right, let's just start investing in and investigating those automated programs. So Ashton, man, you were an early adopter. You are a technological guy anyway. You jumped in and you started using the pilot version of Switchboard, immediately took a great liking to it, used it to write a grip of business, a bunch of business. So what are some of the benefits that you saw from it that like made you take the leap into automation?
Yeah, I mean, for me, we've talked about before, I love trying new things. And it was the newest thing for the company that said, hey, here are the benefits that we could potentially see. We have no idea until someone tries it. Now, we got some people that kind of found this and they've been trying it, but a group of 10 people doesn't really give us the numbers of, hey, is this going to work for 5,000 people? And so when they opened that, I was just in the process of trying to get back to virtual. I've talked about it plenty of times before. When I first started, I failed 3 times going virtual. First month was part-time and didn't make a single sale. Second time, booked 12 appointments in a week, not one showed. And then I did again in July, and I had like a decent result.
Every time I hear this story, it's so crazy to me, because then like you failed, you went back in person, then you like came back to virtual, failed again, and then like went back in person, and then you were like, I'm going to go at it again another time. And then you wrote $100,000 in 90 days. You know what I mean? Like, and it's nuts to think that all virtual. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. And, you see everyone else that has this great success. Everyone's doing really well virtually. When I started was 2020, but those, 2 out of the 3 times I failed was all 2021. And most of the industry by this point is virtual. Some companies were still saying that, listen, the only way to do this business is in the home. Yep. And I think you can build a great relationship that way. I encourage my agents a lot to start in person. Hey, learn how to build a relationship with someone. It's hard to do it online. I learned that very quickly. Because there was things that I just skipped because it's not natural. Like when I went to a home, it was super easy to just build that rapport. I was like, oh, wait, like I got to do what I would naturally do if I knocked on that person's door and I saw them. But all of that to say with the automations, it's huge. It's helped show rate. It's helped getting the person to pick up the phone quicker. I mean, as much as we love automations, a lot of times we can make it sound like all these automations are great and I just have 95 clients that call me a day. When it's like, hey, maybe we get, a few a week. Definitely a lot more than 0. But, when I first started using this, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm never making another phone call again. Unfortunately, they don't start calling in like that. But what I noticed is when I was putting through my system, they're getting a voicemail immediately from me. That in order to do that, it has to ring once and hang up and leave the voicemail. So now they've seen me call, they've seen me leave a voicemail, they've seen me leave a text. They've seen my phone number 3 times in a matter of 5 minutes. So now if I go call that lead, whether it's a little bit later, right after, next day, now they've seen my phone number come across their phone a bunch. Like, that's like the 10th time I've seen this thing. Like, this seems kind of familiar. Yeah, exactly. I got to answer this. And so that's what I've noticed is people started picking up a lot quicker. And then it's going to keep following up with them when I wouldn't. And most agents don't. Yeah. When was the last time you called your leads from 4 years ago?
Yeah, exactly. Or 4 months ago, 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
An actual practical win, because this just happened through Switchboard. My favorite thing to use it for is to reach out to leads that I'm no longer calling. And when you call your leads, I mean, sometimes you call somebody 10 times over the course of 5 days and they just don't answer. But there was a lead that reached back out to me because Switchboard left her a voicemail. I have not called this lady since April. April is when I got the lead. She called me back and was like, hey, I'm interested in insurance. Like that. She called me, left me a voicemail because I didn't recognize the number. I didn't answer it, but she left me a voicemail and I call her back. This was last Friday. And we write 2 apps on the spot, both of them instant issue, and got paid yesterday on a lead that I would have never called again. But automation kept reaching out to her. and she reached back out when it was the right time. Because sometimes you get a lead and they just moved in, maybe the timing's not right, or you've called a lead. Everybody's had this happen where they just had a death in the family, timing's not right. And so automation can still nurture those people to where when the timing's right, they know how to get back in touch with you.
And now it's reaching out to that lead for 5 months.
Yep.
And nurturing it and getting it in the system. So, and that's the great thing about automation.
Yeah.
And it can really improve business very quickly.
Well, I want to toss it to Grant here because he's got a couple wins. I was lucky enough to do an event with Grant in Las Vegas. We got to show some people symmetry and go out to eat some food, and where we met our rep from Americo, who I do want to shout out. I've been wearing the Americo polo that Andrew Costas sent me. I told you if you sent it to me, I'd wear it on the podcast, I promise. Foresters, we don't know where the hell you're at.
I'm wearing all the gear all of the carriers have sent me.
I've only written
Nothing. So, guys, I know Ryan's cooler than me, but come on.
Anyway, well, SBLI will send you something. You got to get on the phone to him. Anyway.
Ooh, I've got my Forester's underwear on.
Yeah, see? At least you got underwear. Yeah. I've only written $3 million of business with them. I can't get the T-shirt yet. I got to get to $4 million. When you get to $5 million, you can do the underwear. Is what you're going to get, right? All right. Kelly doesn't listen to any of this anyway. So, all right. But Grant, I was lucky enough to do this event with Grant in Las Vegas. We helped some people, got some people involved in symmetry, and he was sharing with me how it worked for him. And he had some great wins to the tune of about $7,000, maybe $8,000 or something like that. Whoa. And I want you to tell this story, man. So let's just hear it. How did it work for you?
Yeah, I mean, with the way the leads are coming in, it's a little bit sporadic, and that requires us to adapt. But it also, because of the tools that we have, like literally, using the app to message them, as well as being able to do electronic apps on your phone. We can do almost every app on your phone.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's come such a long way in the last few years since we all started.
Yeah.
And so, I was in the pool. It was 3:09 p.m. Lead comes in. They get a first automation message.
You live in jacuzzi though, right?
Well, it's Arizona, so we're in the pool.
Okay,
because
in the pool.
now in Arizona in the summer, every pool is a jacuzzi. Okay. So just to clarify that it's 95 degrees in the pool. Yeah, it's preheated. So get the lead come in, it's 3:09 p.m. At 3:12, the client texts back, hey, I'd prefer to talk over text. We're going back and forth. I'm getting their medical information just through text message, not on the phone with them. And then we're kind of talking about, hey, can we meet tomorrow? Can we meet tomorrow morning? We couldn't quite figure it out. So I was like, listen, it sounds like you're probably available now. Can we just get on the phone? And she's like, yeah, go ahead and call me. And so we get on the phone. I didn't leave the pool. 29 minutes later, we've got an app instantly approved for about 2,000 in premium, something like that. Yeah, from the pool. And that's how I run my business in general. Everything that we've done has allowed me to not be in front of a computer, in front of that's another thing, just printing out leads. I mean, that's another big win in automation of just the management of it, not even just resolution. So yeah, being able to do that. And then you talk about the drip system and kind of the follow-up process. I wrote a policy about 3 nights ago. It was a $1,000 a month policy. And this guy had been in the system for a month.
Wow.
Getting a drip text every other day for a month. And finally, the text says, hey, usually when people, send this in, it's important, but you haven't responded, so we assume maybe to you it's not important, so we're going to stop reaching out. And this guy's like, whoa, no, I'm still interested. And we get on the phone and help him out. And so it's just the stories that we're all seeing is not isolated. Like normally when you have really top producers, they always win, right? Winners always find a way to win. We're helping newer people win in ways that they haven't been able to do it before on their own. Mm-hmm. We're helping people that are brand new to the industry get started on something that creates inbound. The biggest hurdle that people usually have is the phone weighs 1,000 pounds.
Yeah.
So when you have these tools in place, it puts you in a position where you're basically buying your income in a way that we're always able to do, but never able to do with this low level of effort.
And time.
There's one thing that I would say, and I have a ton of stories of wins from automation and from switchboard and whatnot. But I think a lot of times, because we've said it a couple times here now, that the phone weighs 1,000 pounds or agents have a hard time dialing. My philosophy is just that the first actual work that you have to do, you're not going to like. And so Keith and I worked for a company where we were doing outside sales. It was for home improvement, and all of our appointments were set for us. Guess what sucked? learning the in-home sales presentation, right? Like that's what sucked because it was the first actual work we had to do. So it's like, it's just the first, like you actually have to work, unfortunately. And so people come in and they're like, they actually have to pick up the phone and do some work and call people. And that's what makes it hard. So what I love about our new automation system is that it almost forces work to happen, right? Is that it kind of just pushes people into, clients are coming at you, now you're responsible to help them, let's go, you know what I mean? I can tell you that I've been here, I came to Denver on Monday, our conference starts tonight, it's Wednesday. I got here on Monday, I checked into the hotel, I got 2 leads assigned to me that immediately got text messages, and both of them responded. One of them says I want to text, one of them says I want to call. So the one that says I want to text, I'm eating chicken wings. Hashtag, y'all who know me, love chicken wings. So I'm eating chicken wings at a little pub right down the street from here. And I text back, hey, I see that you're this age. Do you have health conditions, whatever? And I'm texting that person. When I get the inbound text from the second person that says, call me. So I call the second person. She's at work, 33 years old, get all of her information. And I go, hey, there's 2 ways we could do this. Number 1, I can set up a time I can meet with you and I can walk you through doing the application. Or number 2, I can send you the link and you can fill out the application yourself. You can get qualified for insurance. You can do it all without me and get insurance booked and put in place right now. And she's like, I'm at work. I'll do it right now. Perfect. Sent her the link. She went online to the direct-to-consumer platform, bought her own insurance. Second person, I booked an appointment for yesterday through text message, met with her yesterday, wrote another application. So these are things that, like, I'm at a conference, I'm traveling. These would not have been leads that I would have called today. More than likely, they're shopping for insurance. They would have found insurance by the time that I got to call them. Maybe I called them on a Friday, maybe I called them on a Saturday. They were working, they were on trips, they were doing whatever. But I would not have got to them most likely in a time when they were looking for insurance. And because we met them where they were and we had software that put them in front of our face, I wrote 2 applications. I got 2 people covered. They both have coverage in force. Money deposited in my account today, which is awesome. So I think that using automation, not only for leads that we've forgotten about, that we weren't able to get a hold of, but just to be more efficient with the people that are looking for insurance right now is super important. So Ashton, what about you? What do you got wins in automation?
Yeah, I think the biggest win for me really is simply show ratio. I've noticed a larger show ratio. We talked about this before. You can utilize things such as, Calendly to send out those reminders and get it on a calendar invite. And having those reminders and confirmation text and emails go out is a huge help, that you're staying in front of them and, hey, they might have wrote it down on their calendar, but they're probably still going to forget. And so having those reminders was a really, really big win when it came to automation.
Totally. Keith, I want to ask you about recruiting, and then I'll go into if anybody else is using automation for recruiting. So you're using automation for recruiting. You're getting a lot of candidates from all over the country, and the old method was pick up the phone and call each candidate, right? Dial through their resumes. Hey, I've got your resume. You're interested in doing this. And now we're using automation to get in front of more clients faster. So what have you noticed has sort of been the biggest advantage of the people that you've gotten to actually come on the team from that level of automation?
I think it was last year I heard direct to the company Jordan Hunt tell a story about the swimming pool. Do you remember that? No. Where he said, he was learning to swim, and he could swim pretty easily in the shallow end, but in the deep end he couldn't swim. And his uncle didn't help him. He had to get across the pool. And the point of the story was, you have to get across the pool before I can help teach you how to swim. Yeah. Right? And so just kind of stumbled onto an idea of creating an automated system that's going to allow more people to get in front of me in less time, which was the whole point of virtual sales, right? Yeah. Like if we didn't have an appointment, we could pick up the phone. The whole point of automation in sales is get more people in front of us in less time, because the most valuable commodity is time. So I thought to myself, well, if I have back-to-back 15-minute one-on-one interviews and they're all day, and we all know some are going to show, some are not. They say they want it, they say they don't. Why would I create a scenario where clients play in my sandbox for selling insurance, but I don't create that for recruiting? So I thought, okay, I'm just going to do group interviews and call them overviews. And you actually gave me this word of self-select. We're going to allow you to self-select. And our interview process is that you're going to go out and get a license and show us that you're hungry enough to do this. Sort of like Jordan's analogy of we can't, teach you to swim until you get in the deep end. Yes, so ultimately, on Monday alone, I had 180 candidates signed up to meet with me, and it took me 3 hours to see them all.
Right. Come on. Yeah.
And if you did that one-on-one, how long would that have taken?
Well, 15 minutes for each, so 180 times 15.
A long time.
I don't know if I'd be here. I'd still be at home doing the interviews.
What's interesting about this, man, is that I've been explaining this to people, and I've been telling them, we're doing these group interview type things, and it's like astronomical to them. They're like, what? Oh my God! And it's like, dude, our company's been doing corporate overviews for 13 years. You know what I mean? Where we drive a bunch of people into a room, show them the company, and go, who wants in? You know what I mean? And that's all we're doing in a group interview. It's nothing different, but we're automating the process of getting those people from I see your job post to I've watched the videos to I'm interested in attending to I'm showing up, right? And that's the biggest thing. So we have 180 people. They don't all show up. We have 180 people, and 70 show up, 80 show up, something like that.
Still a full week, and we still added some personalization to the presentation, so it wasn't just here's the company. It's still a little bit about them and their experience. Last Thursday, I had 10 people sign up for pre-licensing and 2 licensed agents, all in one day from doing 2 group interviews, join the team in one day. And it's like, I don't remember having, some months of having that many people and doing one-on-one. Yep. I've had at least 10 people join pre-licensing and finish pre-licensing and get their license inside of 7 days.
And I have to say this because some of you guys are going to listen to this and you're like, oh my God, it's revolutionary. But it's like, this has been going on in industry for the better part of a decade, if not longer. Drip email campaigns, email lists, follow-up text messages, follow-up emails, using free services like MailChimp, using things like Sendinblue, using group text message services. There's so much out there that's so easy to start. You don't need a platform like Switchboard. We have one. It's awesome. All the thinking is done for you. It's figured out. It's got a recruiting platform. It's got everything in it. It's beautiful. But if you don't have one and you're at another company and you want to start investigating some of this stuff, it's out there. It's the proper procedure or the best practices on sales funnels and converting through messages. It's not a mystery anymore. There's 10 years of documented evidence of this is what works, step by step. YouTube is your friend. Do a little bit of research on how do I do this, right? And you'll find incredible strides that you can make just in doing stuff like that, just in taking candidates and moving them into one place where they can all see you at one time. It's really amazing. So final thoughts from you guys. We can go off of automation, just if there's anything else you're excited about, what are you excited about? If you got a message to somebody that you want to send out there, an agent who's struggling, anything like that, what are your final thoughts? Just throw it out there.
I guess the first thing I would say, just to kind of close the book, maybe on the building side of it, is when you're looking at getting resolution, because that's what we're doing. We're getting resolution, we're sorting, we're filtering, we're organizing. Who are the winners, right? We got to turn over a lot of rocks. What people, and when I say people, what I think we all thought in the beginning was if we let automation just do its thing with an email drip or a text drip, maybe we're missing out on some of the meat. Well, here's the thing. If we give people hoops to jump through, the right people are going to jump through them.
Yep.
And so we found that, having a recruiter or doing it personally, calling through all these people, it's not the most efficient way to spend our time doing it, especially when you look at being on a platform like ZipRecruiter. Hey, I got 500 candidates that come in. I'm not going to go comb through all of those. I'm going to have something that goes out, reaches out to them, creates action, because everything that we're doing with automation is to create inbound. Everything that we've done always before is we go out and we fish, okay? Now it's kind of we're just waiting on them to kind of get on the hook, basically, And so we don't even have to cast it out there. The hook's are already in the water. So when it comes to how we leverage our business, we're putting ourselves in a position where the time that we save is exponentially worth any of the extra financial, components, because we have to be honest, with automation, there's more money in it, right? There's more money in lead cost, there's more money in potentially some of these recruiting platforms, but what you save in time, whether that's time you pay a recruiter or just what our time is worth personally producing, or our time is worth just enjoying our lifestyle, is totally worth being able to have those tools in place. And so when you talk about what I wish people watching, what I wish other people would get on board with, is thinking like a business owner. I think that's the biggest problem that people have, is they have an employee mindset.
Yeah.
And they come in and they go, okay, well, buying leads, oh man, if I come in as an employee, I don't want to buy leads, I want to be given leads, I want to be spoon-fed this. If I'm an entrepreneur, if I'm a business owner, I want to buy the resources and I want to understand my metrics, and if I know I get a 4-to-1 ROI on this lead, I want to put as many dollars as I possibly can into it, and I'll trade $1 bills for $4 bills all day long and twice on Sundays. So I want people to understand, like, when you're getting into something where you're self-employed and you're in a position where you're able to leverage resources and tools and things, don't be afraid to take that leap.
Yeah.
The worst thing that's going to happen to you is you're going to have a little bit lower of an ROI as you go through the learning curve. And that's not a bad thing, to earn exactly what you spend in marketing dollars, for example, if you have the learning curve to get through it. So I would take a 1-to-1 ROI all day long as I'm going through the learning curve on this stuff, just to kind of figure it out, even if it took a few weeks to get up and going.
All day long.
Yeah.
Elijah?
I would say right now the insurance industry is one of the oldest industries on the planet. It's also like a dinosaur in comparison to a lot of others. And so right now technology is disrupting how business is done in the insurance space, and that's a good thing, but it's also a wave that you can miss. Like, if you wait to adopt this stuff, you're gonna miss out on the land grab, so to speak. Like right now we're all making thousands and thousands of dollars dialing less than we ever have, and there are people who don't know that stuff like that exists.
Working less than we ever have.
Working less than we ever had, like, true story. And the difference between what we're doing and what a lot of other people are doing is we're leaning into the uncomfortability of change, because it is a different way of doing business.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I would say, like, lean into that change, and that's what the founders of the company have been talking about. Like, it's not going to be comfortable. There are going to be hiccups. The first iteration of Switchboard was rough, but we saw the potential, and so we leaned into it, and now it's not even a year later. It's already polished.
Even though it was rough, because I agree it was rough, but it's rough in hindsight, because it's rough compared to what it was today. When we got it, it was still like, this is revolutionary. You know what I mean? Like, this is so awesome. The one thing that I want to say is, it brings up, I listened to Dean Graziosi say this in the Time to Thrive Challenge last week, where he talked about the Wayne Gretzky quote, which is that when somebody asked Wayne Gretzky why he was so good at hockey, he said, because other hockey players skate to where the puck is, and I skate to where the puck will be, where the puck is going, right? And that's what's happening in our industry, is not only is technology is disrupting, but our consumer base is evolving. And the people that are looking for insurance are changing. Buying habits are changing. Consumer behavior in the United States of America, buying anything, is changing. Department stores are going out of business. Amazon is blowing up, right? Like, you can see this changing around you. And so the days of working insurance in the way that it had been worked are numbered, right? And so it's like, are you going to be caught flat-footed to where the puck is now? Or are you going to be moving and evolving to where the puck is going? And that's what I think our company is doing. I think there's a lot of other companies out there that are doing the same thing. And if you're at a company that's just like kind of still knocking on doors and doing whatever and kind of where the puck is today, you can do things yourself to anticipate where the puck is going and to be ahead of the curve. And guess what? When the curve comes, guess who's going to be making all the money? And guess, like, the rest of the people that are stuck flat-footed are going to be out, and you're going to have all the market share to yourself. So invest a little bit of time in figuring this stuff out, man. So Keith, final thoughts?
There's a recent study since the pandemic that more and more folks are looking to work from home. Yeah. Right? That the trend in the market is going that way. And that ultimately some of the social programs that we've known to come in, just expect to be in place, they may not be in place. Now, while we're in a $1 trillion industry, some of us may think, wow, it's saturated, and we haven't even scratched the surface, right? There's enough people for all of us to write insurance just in this hotel alone and keep us busy for the rest of the year. So my point is, there's so much attrition in this business that what I'm most excited about is, someone like a woman named Ashley who came into a group interview with me last week, heard about the innovation, came out of the hospitality industry, and leveraged everything she has to be here at this conference. A guy named Charles, who also a couple of weeks ago told me about being laid off from his company, that just suddenly laid off like 200 sales reps that were doing inbound calls. And that was his, paycheck to paycheck kind of thing, and he didn't know what he was going to do. And learning that he could get into this industry at an age of, he's above 60, right, where everybody else is moving him out, and he can subtly learn the transition to the innovative methods, but also give him a niche that most markets at a 60-year-old age of going out to get employment does not exist. And so I'm super excited that the attrition rate is going to go down. More people will get into this industry. More of us will make the most of it. But most of all, families will get protected and people will get the help they need because they're being reached out to in a way that they enjoy. So if nobody else will say it, I'll say it. If you're out there listening and you need a place to be, join us immediately.
Yeah, technology, it can be great and it can be horrible at the same time. Yeah, Android, yeah. Yeah, so as much as, we have to learn with the technology. A lot of times it's not technological error, it's user error. And just like Elijah said, you have to go with that learning curve. You have to go to where things are going to be. We're seeing a change in how we're generating leads because of how clients are responding, et cetera. So as much as technology is great, we have to keep developing ourselves. It's not an excuse to go, I don't have to be any better than I am today because of technology, because of a dialing system, a booking system. They can just go send a link, write business. We still have to keep continually to get better, whether it's to learn how to operate the software or learn how to better utilize it to help more people. And that's one of the biggest things when it comes to technology.
That was going to be my thought too, is that we're talking about automation, we're talking about clients flowing into us and whatnot. Nothing will ever replace in sales having that one-to-one conversation from a human being to another human being. That can be through text message. There's no robotic AI that exists yet that will replace having that one-to-one human conversation. So we're not saying you get automation and you take your hands off the wheel. We're saying use automation to have more of those one-to-one conversations in a shorter period of time. It's still going to take you talking to the client. This is still something that needs to be sold, it needs to be explained. It's not necessarily something that people just buy because they have to have it. You can see that with all of the life insurance companies that decided they were going to sell automated and now are going bankrupt, right? Losing billions of dollars. It doesn't work that way. So it still takes independent conversation between human beings, professionals and buyers. So just use this to get in front of more people.
And Ryan, if I could, sorry, man, just the transition, right? What you're kind of getting into is what's the transition of using automation? Now I insert myself in that to personalize it, and then maybe I use other follow-up tools. That's probably the biggest learning curve to this, is understanding how the automation works, where I can get in there, we can add the personal touch, so it does have that conversation, there's rapport with the client, there's rapport with the new agent we're bringing in, and then through tools like maybe booking reminders and things, now we're kind of reintegrating automation, and now we're back on the phone. So just understanding how it all integrates together. You don't just go set it and forget it, you use it as a supplement.
Absolutely. Man. Great guest today. Super stoked that we got to have these gentlemen on. We're winning big time with automation. We're sharing it with everybody. We hope that you guys invest in a little bit of research. You do a little bit of more automation, maybe a little bit of delegation. Maybe you need to eliminate some stuff that you're doing right now to make your business more successful, to make you more profitable, to make you more efficient. As always, we're going to keep bringing fresh content to you. Go to writemoreapps.com. Like and subscribe to this video. You can find us on all major podcast places, wherever you listen to us, Apple, Android, Spotify, we're everywhere. Look us up there, follow us there. We're going to be releasing some exclusive content on each one of those channels, so we'd love to keep helping you guys sell more insurance. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you next time. you.